Hello, welcome to another session on the Iran war. Uh, so, a lot of things are happening, and we have a lot to cover in terms of military, geopolitics, how the war will end, and all sorts of different perspectives related to that. Okay, so let's start with Trump's speech. And he said that he's going to bombard Iran very hard for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And he even threatens on his social media that he's going to send Iran to the Stone Ages. Okay, so that's kind of scary. But on the other hand, Iran is also talking tough. They're saying if the US invades Iran, if there are any ground troops, then the US will be punished so severely that nobody will join the US military in the future. So there's a lot of tough talk. And the Iranian president has also talked about possible ceasefire, and the foreign minister, the ex-foreign minister, uh, has written an article in the Foreign Policy or Foreign Affairs magazine, where he has some proposals, but I don't think any of them will be okay with the US. So we're now at a situation that's kind of stalemate, but both are attacking each other. The US and Israel have dropped something like 30,000 bombs on Iran, basically debilitating its entire navy, all of its military bases, the command control centers, military buildings, research centers, many missile cities, missile launchers, drone missile factories, and so on. But Iran still has a lot of hidden centers for missiles and drones, so they're still firing them. Although they're down something like 95% to 99%, depending on the day. So, for example, 3 days ago, Iran fired only three missiles at Israel. So that's really, really down. But yesterday it was back to 10. Uh, so this is kind of unpredictable. We don't know how many missiles they have left and how many missile launchers they have left and how they have the ability to keep firing them. Okay. But meanwhile, the stock market and the oil prices, they're going up and down, wild fluctuations based on the news. So, for example, just before Trump's speech, the oil price was really down, like just under $100. And now it's back to about 120. And then if you look at the delivery price, that's the real life price that people are paying for oil, it's $140 a barrel. Why? Because the Strait of Hormuz is still closed for all practical purposes. It's been closed for 30 days, and a couple of ships, they managed to leave the Strait of Hormuz every day. I think about 10 ships or so now. In the usual time, in normal times, about 60 ships pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and now it's down to 10. So it's not too bad, not too good. And Saudi Arabia is using a pipeline all the way uh, Israel. There's a port, Yanbu port on Red Sea. So Saudi Arabia is pumping 7 million barrels a day to the Yanbu port, and then from there it goes through the Yemen part to the rest of the world. So far, it's doing okay. The Houthis have They fired a couple of missiles at Israel, but they are not stopping the ships from going through. So that's the good news. And so, oh, and another interesting thing is in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran is collecting up to $2 million per ship, but that's not paid in US dollars, obviously. So they are asking payments in Chinese yuan. So that's good news for China, which has always wanted to internationalize its currency. So now Chinese yuan is more popular. And as for Trump, he has a very interesting strategy regarding Strait of Hormuz. So he's kind of bluffing, okay? Because he didn't get much support from Europeans, and no other country is really sending in Navy ships, warships, or soldiers to free the Strait of Hormuz. So Trump is like, I don't care. Okay. If the Strait of Hormuz is closed, then it's closed. Then it's up to you guys. You go and fight it out. Because the US is not dependent on oil from Strait of Hormuz. It's only the rest of the world, especially like, big countries like China, India, Japan, South Korea, pretty much the whole of Asia depend on that. So he's kind of bluffing, and it has two possibilities, right? One, the rest of the world will make a deal with Iran to allow ships. Then in that case, Trump doesn't care much. You'll say, okay, now that's going to bring down the oil price, and Trump is happy. The stock market will go up. And then if they're all suffering, then Trump will go to the allies and other countries, and he could say, listen, I have spent, I don't know, $100 billion on this war, and you guys give me $100 billion, and I will fight it out with Iran, and I will free the Strait of Hormuz. So that's a real possibility. Okay. Now, as for Iran, mostly it has been disappointing, okay? Because if you look at it strategically from the military point of view, it has no defense. It has only offense. So it's very much like, say, Hezbollah and Hamas, who can fire rockets, but they don't have any navy, they don't have any the air force, they don't have any missile defense system, they don't have any ways to shoot down the fighter jets, right? They don't have the radars working. So it's just a one way based on, well, I can take more pain than you guys, and I can keep firing missiles. I can destroy infrastructure. For example, today they bombed a desalination plant in Kuwait, and yesterday they bombed the Amazon data center in the UAE. So the Iranian strategy is very much like a terrorist strategy. I cannot defend myself, but I can cause a lot of pain for all the people. And you will have to, demand a ceasefire, request a ceasefire, and end the war because I don't care. You can kill my leaders, you can drop 30,000 bombs, and you can destroy the entire economy, but I'll still keep firing missiles that are hidden in some mountains and forests. So this is a strange strategy for a nation, right? So this could work for Hamas or Hezbollah or some terrorist groups, but for a nation, you cannot continue that. Because, say, for example, if Trump, he hasn't done, but he has threatened a lot. So he said he's going to hit power plants in Iran. And so far, he has not hit any of the oil refineries in Iran. Right? So, for example, he could easily destroy the Karg Island in just a couple of hours, right? Is full of huge oil tanks, and he just has to drop like 50 bombs, and then the whole island will be on fire, and that will destroy 90 to 95% of Iran's exports, right? And if they move the shipment to some other ports, then the US and Israel can bomb those ports as well. So it's a very dangerous strategy for a nation to say, I don't care how much you hurt me. Okay? And they have a dwindling number of missiles and drones. So, for example, if you look at the UAE and how many missiles Iran fired at the UAE, looking at the 5 days, it went from 20 to 16 to 9 to 5. So it's going down, although it could come back up. But in general, they are not causing much damage to the rest of the world, and especially the Gulf countries. So, believe it or not, Iran has fired 6,000, yeah, 6,000 missiles and drones at its neighbors who have not fired a single shot at Iran. So, these are like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain. All these countries are getting attacked by Iran, but those countries have not done anything back. They have not retaliated. For 33 days, they're just 35, yeah, I think 35 days. They are just taking the hit and not doing anything. And plus, uh, the whole shebang before the war started was, how Iran said they have all these super duper missiles and they can destroy the American ships, they can destroy Israel, deaths to America, deaths to Israel. Like this guy said, what if we launch 500 missiles at Israel in one day? We will totally destroy Tel Aviv. We will totally destroy the Zionists. Well, it hasn't happened. 35 days, they keep talking, oh, we launched the massive Sejil. We launched the massive Khorashar missiles. Well, no big damage has been done so far. And so, and it's also sad if you look at Iran, now they are literally recruiting 12-year-olds. Okay. If you are a boy as young as 12, you can join the IRGC. They'll give you a gun, they will place the kids in some corners, they'll be part of the besieged paramilitary. And it's the same thing that Iran did during the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. Khomeini passed a fatwa saying that children could be recruited to the war without the permission of the parents. So Khomeini sent more than 100,000 young boys into the battlefield, and tens of thousands died, and then many, many more got injured. So it's really a war crime, but this regime doesn't care. And what is next? So the war is going on, and Iran's industrial capacity is getting wasted. Okay. I think it was Israel and maybe the US also, but basically all the major steel plants in Iran have been destroyed. Okay. Before this war, Iran ranked number 10 in the world in steel production. It was started by the Shah of Iran in the 1960s. He really modernized and industrialized Iran. He built these steel industries, which were up to now the largest in Iran, and now they're all destroyed. And some of the petrochemical factories and even the food factories are getting destroyed in the war. War is very brutal. And Trump may start hitting the infrastructure in the next couple of days. Right? So it's really brutal. And the Iranian regime does not want to surrender. So they don't want to surrender because of three reasons. One, they are very scared of the Iranian people. And a lot of Iranian people are going to seek vengeance for all the brutality of this regime. Right? It's not, in January, the regime killed something like 30 to 40,000 people or more. We will find out the truth when the war is over. And just every day is just brutality in Iran. There's no freedom, right? There's no freedom of speech. 34 days, the Iranians have not even had access to the internet. They cannot send an email. They cannot go on social media. They cannot even send like an email to friends and family outside Iran. Uh, so it's like North Korea right now. And and it has been brutal for 47 years. No freedom of speech. If you say anything against the theocratic regime, you'll be arrested and sentenced to death. Okay, sentenced to death just for speaking out against the government or the policies. Because whoever speaks out against the government will be labeled as the enemy of Islam, enemy of Allah, enemy of God. It will be considered an apostate, right? So it's a brutality beyond imagination because even in a dictatorship, people can complain. Like in China, you cannot say anything bad about Xi Jinping, but at least you can complain about a specific, rules or situations, and you can demand some change. If you do it politely, it's okay. But in Iran, it's like total dictatorship backed by theocracy. So in the name of God, they can kill anyone. Khomeini famously said in 1979, "We don't believe in trials. If a person is a criminal, he's a criminal. He shall be hanged. He shall sent before a firing squad and shot to death. He will be stoned to death. He will be killed. There's no need for trial for criminals, right? So these people don't even understand basic concepts of women's rights, human rights, basic things like things, you would read in the U.S. Uh, Constitution, right? The First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, right to protest, right of speech, right to media, right to religion. There's nothing like that in Iran. Okay. So if you are a Muslim who says, I want to leave Islam, you'll be killed in Iran. Okay. It's really shocking. Women cannot even sing in public. Women cannot even dance. Okay. Women cannot wear a skirt. They could wear jeans, but the jeans have to be very loose, okay? Like baggy jeans. If they wear a tight jeans, they'll have morality police who will arrest the women and then sentence them to jail or worse. Okay? And then people who get accused of premarital sex or adultery, they can get stoned to death. It's just it's so ridiculous. And so that's why, so although they have blocked the internet, people who use the VPN, if they keep trying for a couple of hours, they will have access to the internet for a few minutes. So that's how they are sending some photographs and few second videos from Iran, even through the war. And you can see that the Iranians are cheering the American bombing. They're like, hello, Uncle Trump. Thank you, Mr. Trump. And they are posting videos where the women show the victory sign with the bombing in the background. Okay, so they're all very happy about the bombing. Some are like playing music uh, on the rooftop while there's bombing going on in the background. So the Iranians are very pro-America, pro-West. They don't want this drama. They don't want Iran to be so anti-West, anti-American, death to America. They don't want that. They just want to be a normal country like most other countries, right? Like have normal relations with the US, normal relations with Europe, normal relations with Russia, China, everybody. And that's how it used to be during the Shah era, right? So if you go back, the Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah, was there from 1941 to 1978, and his father was the first Pahlavi dynasty Shah from 1925 to 1941. And after the World War ended, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was very friendly with the US and Europe. He would go to Sweden and he would get welcomed by the Swedish king. He would go to the UK, the British Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, will ride with him in a what do you call that, a chariot or the horse carriage, and thousands of British people were lined up on the roads to wave to him. He would go to France with his wife, and thousands of French people would line up to see him. He went to, America in 1962. They had a huge parade for him on Broadway. Thousands of Americans lined up to see a leader from Iran. Can you believe that? So that's how it was. He would go to the White House. The Shah of Iran gave a speech to the joint U.S. session of Congress. It was wonderful days. And that would be possible again. Okay. Now, there are a lot of naysayers on social media. It's like a whole bunch of leftists and the anti-Trump people, Chinese, Russians, the Islamists. All these people are rooting for Iran. So on social media, they spread all kinds of fake news, fake photos, fake videos, and they always say, "Oh, look at it. Look at Afghanistan. It's going to be the same case for the US if they invade and take over Iran." Well, Iran is not Afghanistan. Okay. So for one, the Iranians are very secular, very pro-West, very well educated, and they just want to go back to the pre-1979 era. Okay. A lot of these people, who shout death to America, the Iranian leaders, they send their kids to study and live in the US. Okay. So Iran is not Afghanistan. It's very pro-West to the core. And and it has just been taken hostage by the mullahs and the ayatollahs since 1979. So Iran is going to be a much easier case of transitioning to a secular a democratic, free, open nation. Okay. Now, all right. So let's conclude with what's going to happen. What's going to happen is the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be intense bombing. And my prediction is that there's going to be a ground invasion of the islands. Okay, so at least starting with the Karg Island, and then also possibly the other islands. There are like 5 or 6 islands, like Qushm, Larak, Abu Musa, and 2 other small islands. So you have the Marines, the expeditionary forces from USS Tripoli and USS Louisiana. They're all there. The 82nd Airborne paratroopers are there, 2,000. So about 15,000 Marines and soldiers are ready. Okay, so they could start any moment. And they just have to make sure that once they capture so the first thing is, uh, can we capture the islands? If so, what it takes? How many soldiers are there in the islands? What kind of weapons do they have? Can we do the paratroopers? Can we bring in the helicopters? Right? So those kind of logistics have to be figured out. And then once you land, you have to protect the islands. And if you look at the coastal line, just around the Strait of Hormuz, it's very hilly and it's very mountainous. So then the other thing is to figure out if those mountainous areas have, say, shoulder-powered missiles, any drone facilities, are there people hiding in caves ready to fire missiles, man-pad, shoulder-powered missiles at the helicopters. So those kind of things have to be figured out, and figuring out how to secure the coastal area. And there is a port, Bandar Abbas port, with 500,000 people. So they have to figure out if they can take over the port, and are the people going to be friendly, right? So if there are 500,000 friendly Iranians, it would be a walk in the park. But if there are 500,000 jihadists, then it's not going to be possible, right? So there's a lot of logistics, there's a lot of sociological aspects. Um, and if all those things pan out, then we will definitely see ground invasion of the islands and the coastal areas, and taking over Karg Island, which Trump was talking about back in 1987, 1988. He said we should go take out the Karg Island. So I think he'll be very inclined to do that. And looking at the big picture, a lot of people are saying crazy things like, oh, Iran is going to be the fourth superpower, you know, I mean, after the US, China, and Russia. No, it's not going to be a superpower, okay? So Iran accounts for 0.3% of the global economy. Okay, 0.3, not even 1%, it's 1/3 of 1%. The average household in Iran makes 3.4 billion reals. Okay, billion with a B. But that translates to 2,000 US dollars per year. Okay, so that is the average, family in Iran making, what is 2,000 by 12? About $160 a month. Okay, So that's like $5 a day. $5 a day is what the average uh, Iranian family makes. Okay, family. So just imagine a mom, dad, and two, three kids, $5 a day. But so this kind of an economy is not a superpower. So this is just a terrorist regime. It's just like, Hezbollah with a huge nation. And the only reason that it's not fallen so far is because it's huge. It's like 4.5 times the size of Germany, and Tehran is far, far away from the ocean. So it's not like the US can fly helicopters from, say, the Strait of Hormuz to Tehran, because a helicopter can fly only like 200 kilometers, and Tehran is 600 kilometers away. So the logistics is what is keeping Tehran alive, and also just the fact that they're still firing missiles. So the day that the number of missiles, like say for 4 or 5 days in a row, they are firing only one or two missiles, that's when the U.S. is going to invade Tehran. They'll probably fly in and do a massive paratroopers, and also at that time, the Iranian people are going to rise up. Okay? So far, when they tried to do it in January, the Iranians got massacred by the IRGC. So the next time around, the U.S. will be very careful in making sure that all the besieged, the police, and the military in Tehran are totally destroyed, and then they'll give the people the sign to rise up. And so I don't know if they could somehow sneak in weapons, but if they do that, there will be an uprising. So we'll see what happens. Uh, Definitely, the next 2 weeks will be very, very consequential, and I'll do one next week to do a summary on what is happening. All right. Hope you're having a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.